Welcome to, and I don't know what you could call us. You could call us a couple different things depending on your perspectives. You could call it two separate ones v 1v1s. You could call it a 2v1, considering it's two guests on the same topic, or you could just call it one particular segment. Whatever you like. It is our chance to catch up with some of our friends from Apple TV that we got to do on SDH AM and find out about their particular matchups coming up this weekend in Major League Soccer. First up, it is Kyndra de St, Aubin, who jammed us into her incredibly busy Friday schedule, spending about 15 minutes with us. And she got to preview her game of Houston and Vancouver at Hell in a Shell. And so it is a Houston Dynamo Vancouver Whitecaps preview looking at the question mark that is Houston and the exclamation point that is Vancouver. And we follow that up with catching up with Steve Cangialosi, who is running play-by-play on the Walmart Saturday Showcase. And it's a great matchup. It is Hudson River, so it's a Hudson River home game for Steve and for Danny Higginbotham. And for Kyndra de St. Aubin, it is a look at Houston and Vancouver. So here are the Kyndra cameo, hashtag, and the Cangy cameo from their time on SDH AM, looking at two big matchups this weekend in Major League Soccer. Enjoy. So let's try version number 2, and let's see if here we go. Hang on, and there's version number 2. So do I?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yay! All right, Houston and Vancouver. Give me a preview.
Are you still there?
I am. Give me a preview.
All right. Yeah, I decided, I was like, oh, maybe if I get out of my car. But I was honestly, when you redialed me, it was like perfect. So let's rock it. It's a beautiful day. It's a great day to talk some soccer.
Houston and Vancouver, hit me. What's on your mind?
Whew. Well, first of all, I can't figure out which Houston team this is. I think that's been my biggest challenge so far. Vancouver, pretty consistent. We understand what they're throwing at us. Rotation of squad, and Berhalter has a point to prove heading into, World Cup summer. So that's been fun to watch. And no matter how many competitions they have to play in and what kind of schedule they're looking at, they still seem to find a way to get it done. But it's going to be a tough task, short week, head down to Houston. And I think they were just on the road in Salt Lake. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, just a lot of crazy activity going on with everybody trying to wind down before this World Cup break. Houston with Ben Olsen, he rotated the squad a little bit. I think Yerme is phenomenal. Jack McGlynn is back healthy. So I think they're on the upward trajectory if they can get it all together. I know that the performance they just had didn't look great, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to be, better off after the World Cup break and kind of gelling at the right time. I don't know what your take is on it from what you've seen. I know you watch a lot of soccer, so you're asking my opinion, but I know you know what you're talking about.
No, that's your secret. I'm not supposed to know what I'm talking about. I'm just a lame morning show. Yerme, I thought, was a great pickup. He's one of the guys that's kind of literally flying below the radar when it comes to pickups this season. I still think trying to figure out what to do with Matty Bogusz, that to me is the wild card in all of this. It's like Yerme's getting more noise, Jack McGlynn's getting more noise, but Matty Bogusz was the guy they spent the boatload of money on, and in comparison, it's like, where is Bogusz in this equation?
I think he's in a tough spot because he's such a good player. But I also think that he's trying a little too hard. He's pushing a little bit much. He's trying to perform. There's an expectation there. Maybe playing a little bit, him a little bit out of position because he is so flexible. As we all know, like, it's a blessing and a curse when you can play anywhere and be good at it, because then you get shuffled around when there's somebody else that needs to be in a different spot. So I think Bogusz was so good, and he is so good, but because he can play in multiple positions, it's like, hey, well, you're not going to put up a fuss. You're good on the right-hand side. You can play central. You can play on the left. So we're going to put the other guy that we know will put up a fuss over here, and he suffers a little bit. And because of the price tag, he's trying to do too much when he gets the ball, and just understanding and trusting his teammates. That'd be my biggest thing, but I think it's just got to start rolling for him at some point. This has got to be the thing where he figures it out and just understands to trust his teammates and find success. But when the team is not having success or is super inconsistent, it's hard to sometimes trust that process,
Then you look at Vancouver, and with all of the noise going on around the Whitecaps of relocation and all of that talk and just all of this external noise, they have been locked in to do what they've been doing this season. I give them like 88 gold stars. If I was an elementary school teacher, I give them all 88 gold stars for what they've been handling and handling it well with multiple competitions, still being at the top of the West. This is nuts what they've had to go through this season.
You know, I think when you play for this Vancouver Whitecaps team, and I know this is a newer thing for them with the relocation and the ownership conversation, but it's sort of like they've just been plugging away. And the last two seasons now, even, sort of flying under the radar, doing it. And that's just talking about things that are out of their control. Even the things like the Ryan Gauld injury, Ryan White bursting onto the scene and being so phenomenal, regardless of who the coach is, just putting people in positions and players in positions that maybe nobody's else heard of, but they've just come in and crushed it. So I think for Vancouver, the fact that they've been able to drown out that noise and keep plugging away, regardless of the amount of competitions and everything that else is going on, technically off the field, but has to do with their team. I don't know how they continue to do it, even when they've been missing key players for long stretches of time. And you can only think that there's this culture, this leadership, this quality within the players and the coaching staff that have just got them plugging, humming in a way that I don't know that any of us thought was possible. Or maybe you thought, oh, well, this is going to drop off at some point, and it hasn't done that. So I give the club, the staff, the players a huge amount of credit to just keep doing what they're doing. And, I talk to my daughter a lot about the Vancouver Whitecaps whenever we watch them, and she can name just about everybody on that roster, which is always fun too, because a lot of the names are not the names you talk about all the time, and the unsung heroes in the midfield. Berhalter kind of gets the attention, but at the same time, you got Kuvas and others that just, I mean, if you didn't have them in there, where would this team be? Or Tristan Blackman when he stepped into that center back role and had been quality. And I don't know. There's a lot of good things about this Vancouver team, and I think it's going to be a really tough task for Houston. I know they're at home, and I know this is getting close to the World Cup break, which hopefully, teams aren't already thinking about what they're doing in the break if they're not going to be playing. And so I think that this is an opportunity for Vancouver to fly into this break and on a high note. But I don't know about Houston. I cannot figure out which team is going to show up. Is it going to be the team that lost 6-2? The game I did in Colorado? Is it going to be the team that battles back and finds a way? Is it, I don't know. I'm not sure which Houston team is going to be the one that shows up.
So if we were to have a conversation with your daughter, if we brought your daughter in on a Friday, and we asked her about the goalkeeping value of Yoi Takaoka, she could break it all down, huh?
She would absolutely break that down. She would at least break down his skill set. Because she was actually up in the booth with me on Wednesday, and we had Blake Price was the play-by-play with me that day because Neil was away at a wedding. And so she just starts talking to Blake all about Vancouver. She's like, oh, yeah, they have Takaoka, the goalkeeper, and Kubas is in the midfield. And, so, yeah, she's got a keen eye for the soccer, and she definitely watches enough of it. And, I try to talk to her on a Sunday morning or before I hit the plane, and she's already watching all the recaps. So,
wow. So you've got your own producer, basically.
basically, but you know how that can go with the 12-year-old. They get a little bossy, so I gotta limit the feedback sometimes.
Make sure that she doesn't hit the talkback button, and while you're trying to get something done with Blake and Neil. Did Neil save you a piece of the cake from the wedding?
I hope so. He knows how much I love dessert, so I don't ever miss a dessert. I don't miss an ice cream. I don't miss a cake. I'm all for the dessert. So hopefully he's bringing something to Houston with him.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk to the man to make sure that he has his priorities all set, and that is bringing dessert for Kyndra. I mean, this is how this.
I agree. This is how you make me happy.
See?
Dessert.
It is all about Kyndra. This is how this works. Kyndra cameo here as she gets ready for Houston and Vancouver. And you look at what Vancouver did in the midweek going to Dallas, and they go to Frisco, and they're down 2-1. And then it's just like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. And Berhalter with a brace, and by the time they're done, Rahide is given an own goal, and so it's 3-2. It almost seems like there's an inevitability at times with Vancouver where, like, if they're down or they're down late, you know that there's going to be an equalizer coming. It's almost like you hear the Jaws music and the shark, the shark is in the water. that's kind of the vibe that I get with Vancouver these days. Is that shark is in the water, it's coming after you, and you better make sure that you got your shark repellent on, or that you hit that raft pretty quick, because they're coming and they're not going to stop.
I will say though, if anybody's watched the original Jaws, I look back at that now and I'm like, how did we think that ever even looked like a real shark? With
Mm-hmm.
the with the digital animation we had back then. But I agree with you, and that goes back to my point about the belief. And by the way, this is against a good Dallas team that's surprising a lot of people. And Eric Quill is another coach, right, that talks about belief and culture and understanding and getting the guys on the same page and loving his locker room. So I think that when you have a Dallas team that's at home and still finds a way with Vancouver to come from behind and get that result, I do. I think it's all about the belief. Like you just feel like they never feel rattled. No matter what the score is, no matter what the opportunities are, no matter who's missing from that roster, they just find a way. And yes, it was Berhalter at that game with the Braves, but it could have been anybody else. There's been plenty of guys that have stepped up. And Berhalter sometimes can be kind of quiet on a night and, kind of drifting in an area where he's not getting much done offensively, and then he just pops up out of nowhere. So I think I'm spot on with you. This is a Vancouver side that feels so good about what they're capable of and the belief of the entire group. And again, I know I keep harkening back to the Ryan Gauld injury, and this is obviously dating back to last year. I kept thinking, how are they going to get through this without a healthy Ryan Gauld? How is that going to be possible? And they kept doing it time and time again. So I think even this belief and this understanding that anybody can step up at any moment was all the way back to last season, and now it's just carried through, even with coaching changes and some personnel and some rotation and roster and some guys heading out. I think this is a Vancouver side that just never doubts themselves. They don't ever think they're out of it, even when they're on the road and they know it's a tough task.
And you got dudes who might not even be household names in their own household. You're looking at Emmanuel Sabi. You're looking at Jivan Bodwal. It's Chick Sabali that's attached to all of this knowledge that we're getting from your daughter when it comes to the Whitecaps on a daily basis. It's just dudes
Yeah.
you really got to do deep dives in to know that they're a part of that system. And it's like the Lincoln Logs or the jigsaw puzzle. They fit, and you're not having to fish for that piece of the Eiffel Tower in the corner to make the puzzle fit. You know that it's going to be there.
Well, and don't you think that's the way of the world these days? It's no longer just bring in this super expensive, high priced player that, succeeded somewhere else. It's about fitting the pieces together. And I kind of feel like the league is now becoming what a lot of national teams have figured out. You can't always just take the best players in every position. They have to fit together and complement each other. And as long as they understand the system and the style and the philosophy that you're asking these teams to play or these players to play, then I think it just contributes in a positive way. And that's exactly what they've done in Vancouver. That's actually what they've done, I think, in a lot of places now. That is not the way we used to kind of think of Major League Soccer. It was like bringing the high priced star that blows everybody out of the water, but maybe doesn't fit with what you're trying to do. And I think that's exactly what Vancouver does. They understand their role. They understand that they're important, whether you're coming off the bench, whether you're, number 20 on that game day roster, or whether you're a starter, that you could be called upon at any moment. And I think that's the uniqueness of Vancouver, and now the rest of the league and lots of other teams are starting to do the same exact thing.
All right, when are you flying down?
6:30 tonight. I've got the two coaches calls, a celebration of life, a whole bunch of things. I'm cramming into this beautiful day and heading down to Houston, and it should be a great matchup.
Well, as always, Kyndra, it's great to have the Kyndra cameo. Stop talking to us. Go keep rolling with your day, and we'll catch up with you soon. It's always great to hear from you and get your expertise and all the knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I thank you for being flexible as well. I know I'm kind of walking around outside here trying to figure it out.
It's all good. It's fantastic. Better to hear you than to see you, and it's all great. And just go do your stuff. We'll see you on the air.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Wasting no time, because the man's one of the busiest men in show business. And I say that because it's true. It's time for our Cangy cameo. Cangy, what up?
How you doing, my friend John? What's going on?
You're one of the busiest men in show business. Figured we'd knock on your door here and get you for about 12 or 13 minutes before you head on to your next stop. And you, sir, get a Hudson River home game this weekend. True?
Yes, out of the airport, finally. It's been a wonderful week because Wednesday night did the Red Bull game at Sports Illustrated Stadium against Columbus, and I'm staying local now. And just to show you how quickly things change, right?
Mm-hmm.
These were two teams in a very bad way about a week and a half ago. and 2 straight wins for each. And suddenly this New York Derby is 5 versus 6 in the East. They're both feeling a lot better about themselves than they were 10 days ago.
I was going to ask you about the Jekyll and Hyde changing of uniforms and phone booths and everything, going from just kind of there to where they are right now. And so I will ask you, sir, question mark, or actually ellipses. What has it been that has flipped the switch for the Baby Bulls? Because you had the beginning of the season where it was gangbusters and Julian Hall is the next best thing beyond sliced bread. If you believed that sliced bread was fantastic, you haven't seen Julian Hall. He's better than that. And then you get that dip, and now they're back up and running. What is it about the Baby Bulls that you've seen?
Julian Hall got the headlines, but I think the direct answer to your question is what they're getting out of their wings now, because that's the big change in philosophy as Michael Bradley comes in. It's a much more possession-based team, right? But George Ruvalcaba, who has a chance to represent Mexico at the World Cup, and Cade Cowell are now both flourishing at the same time. And in the case of Ruvalcaba, I spoke with Michael Bradley about this a couple of days ago. And he said, look, we knew there would be a little bit of a transition time for him. He's moving to a new team. He's moving to a new league, doesn't know the opponents very well. He's moving to a different system. There was never much doubt that he would find a gear and the goals would start coming. And sure enough, he's scored 4 since match day 7. Cowell is bringing the element, I think, that the Red Bulls hoped he would. And his pace is one thing, but he delivers a fantastic ball from the right side as well. So if all of these Pistons are firing here, John, Julian Hall has a chance to score at least 20 this year. He's already at 9. And the service is coming from the 2 guys from the outside. Let's not forget, the captain and the highest paid player on the team is Emil Forsberg. He's supposed to be providing the primary service for Julian. But if it's coming from those 3 sweet spots, plus the kid Adri Mehmeti, this could be some robust number at the end of the season for Julian Hall.
There were some folks, and this was in the ebb and flow of the season that we've seen from Red Bulls, who were basically already over Michael Bradley as head coach. It's like, I'm serious. I was seeing this, and I'm like, what are you people talking about? What are you people doing here? And it's like, everything's great. And then all of a sudden they hit that schneid, and it's like, oh, Michael Bradley doesn't know what he's doing. The young kids, this was a bad idea and all this kind of stuff. There was so much noise about Michael Bradley being out of his element when you just start going this way, and now you're coming back this way. All of that has kind of shut up real quick.
Well, welcome to the world we live in 2026. And I think Michael's smart enough to know that the seat by nature is always supposed to be warm, if not scorching hot. We live in a world now, and an MLS world, where 9 teams started with a first-year head coach for the club. And since the start of the season, let's not forget, 3 have already been dismissed, including the man who won an MLS Cup last year. So that is the nature of the game. I think there was always an expectation that Michael would have a lot of latitude to grow into this job. The one part of this that I think is a fair criticism is that Michael became the MLS Next Pro coach. He won a championship, but there is some feeling among people who follow the team closely that he kind of jumped over Ibrahim Sagaya, who is also part of the staff. Ibrahim's a wonderful coach. He's an assistant to Michael now. Some people thought that was uneven, but to his credit, Michael has set out on this path to be a coach for the longest time. And I've said this before, John, maybe not on your show. When he was introduced as this team's head coach, this was his introductory press conference, first week of January, I think it was. He gave the answer that I think everybody in New York wanted to hear, that when the offer came, he said, how do you say no? Because he grew up with this team under his father when he was 16 years old. And that's, I think, all people want to hear. He won the press conference with those words. How do you say no? He could have said anything else for the next 90 minutes, and he won the press conference. So he's learning on the job. I think that's a fair element. He's a young guy, but I think he's a career coach in the world game. Yes, I do.
To the flip side, and the double blue, it was a 1-0 win on the road in Charlotte. And with NYC, just there are times where some of the talent there, you're just marveling, and it's kind of counterintuitive when you're doing play-by-play or analysis when your jaw is agape and you're supposed to say something about what you're seeing out there, and words just kind of fail you. What's it been like for you to see NYC this season up to this particular point?
Uneven, I think, is the best word that I would come up with to describe it. Now, Matt Freese is gearing up for a World Cup, and whether or not he's going to be the number one keeper, we'll get our answer to that maybe 2 days into this World Cup. I don't know that Pochettino has decided. I was in the company of Tim Howard last week, and he said it's really not a decision. Freese is the number one. I'm not so sure I would go that far, but the consecutive shutouts that they have earned in the 2 games that we've referenced against Columbus on Sunday and in midweek against Charlotte. So now coming into this New York derby, Freese has a shutout streak of, I believe, 195 minutes, if I've got the number exactly. And they haven't given up a goal in the run of play in more than 200 minutes. So they're in a better way defensively right now. I always try to look at things big picture. They're not the finished product. Very few teams in MLS are, as we have this conversation in May. But I also believe that you're looking at a 17-goal scorer from last season at some point returning to this group in Alonso Martinez. I feel bad for him. He's one of the best, if not the best, transition player in MLS, aside from Denny Bouanga. And this injury cost him a World Cup, okay? And that's bad stuff. But I think that we're looking at this team getting him back sometime around late August. And if they get somebody who is close to the kind of player that he was, then it's up to Pascal Janssen to make this attack hum, reintroducing Alonso Martinez and still having Nico Fernandez-Marcao, who's been an excellent signing for this team, do the things that change games. This is a good team. It can be a conference finalist, I think, once again, if they get everybody healthy. But right now, it's just been a little bit uneven to this point. And there's pressure to perform as they move into the new stadium next year.
You ain't kidding. You look at 428-year-old Maxi Morales, and he just continues to produce. I literally don't know what it is, but Maxi has found a youth or new skin, or the Cindy Crawford stuff that she peddles. Maxi just seems to find his place. He knows what his job is now at this point of his career, and it continues to be choice B: cause as much havoc as humanly possible. To see Maxi continue to contribute at this point of his career, obviously it's a bonus, but it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and he never comes. He starts every game, at that age, and that's a testament to his professionalism. It's a testament to how he treats his body and how he conserves energy during games, which I think is extremely important. His former coach, Nick Cushing, said this is like having a second coach on the field every game. He directs the rest of the group in a very wise fashion. He is still the engine of their midfield after all of these years, and now with another stint with this team. And every week, he's kind of borderline team of the match day, it seems. He brings a great professional element to this group. The interesting thing is, I've asked this question from time to time whenever I cover New York City. I don't know that there's a plan for him to hang it up. He's going to approach 40 years old. I don't think there's some timeline, at least not one that's been made public, for him to call it a career. And honestly, I don't see any reason for that at this time because he's still such a marvelous player to watch.
So in the Open that you and Higgy Baby will have in the Saturday, there's always the players to watch, and that's the marquee dudes. In this matchup, taking into account possible rotation or what have you from matches in the midweek, who would be your B-level guy, the guy that would not be in that montage, one VO wiping to the next, of who to look at for the successes of both of these teams in this derby coming up on the weekend? You're back with me. I see you. You look great.
Sorry, my friend.
Oh, no worries. Really quickly. So out of that opening VO with players to watch, you wipe from one to the other. Give me like your next choices of those dudes that you would put in there, but you can't. So your B-level guys who would be like choices B on both sides for that players to watch VO.
Let me start with this. Forget squad rotation. They both value this rivalry, and I think they're going to start their best players, okay, as long as they're able to go.
Right.
So my secondary player for New York City would be Agustin Ojeda, who gives a lot of pace on the right side, and he can be a handful for whoever the choice of Red Bull left back will be in that game, because the Red Bulls have two young ones. They have Matthew Dos Santos, the homegrown, and Omar Valencia, the Panamanian. Ojeda typically plays well in these games, so he would be my choice for the team in blue. As for Red Bull, I always like to go with somebody local whenever they play a New York derby, okay? Because traditionally, those are the guys who have brought the fight. Some of the best players in this rivalry for this Red Bull team through the years have been players like Matt Miazga, Daniel Edelman, Peter Stroud. They always brought the fight to this game. I'm going to go with Dylan Nealis as my pick for this. He's been so valuable for this team. He's a jack of all trades. He'll give you something at fullback. He'll give you something at center back if need be. And he's someone who I think will have his A game before the big crowd on Saturday night. So I kind of went off the main road there, but those are the two that come to mind for me.
Literally, that's why I asked that question. I want to see. Yeah. I want to see where the Waymo and the Uber takes the brain in the situation like this.
There you go.
Walmart Saturday Showdown Match Day 14. It's a Higgy Baby along with our friend Steve Cangialosi. Hey, Magnum PI references for guys like me. I'll take it when I can get it. Have a great call, my friend. Don't be a stranger. We will see you soon, and continue on with your incredibly busy day. Thanks for shoehorning us in.
Hey, John. Anytime, man. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.